Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. Internet troubles be damned, electronics troubles be damned. We are here. Who's here with me?
It's Michelle, and I'm in a lighthouse, and my internet connection is awful. That's the only explanation for what's going on.
That's the only explanation. Why are we coming to you on August the 7th, a Wednesday, 2024?
JD had a silly idea.
Oh, I had such a silly idea. So we've been doing these bonus episodes once a month centered around a holiday in that month. August, of course, is legendary for having no meaningful holidays whatsoever. And so I really had to dig, and I was looking, and I was looking, and I was looking, and then suddenly, like a beacon through the fog, I saw it. August 7th, International Lighthouse Day. And I said, Michelle, I believe it's International Lighthouse Day. It might not be. I'm calling it International Lighthouse Day. It's Lighthouse Day. So we're celebrating Lighthouse Day by talking about The Lighthouse, a Robert Eggers jam from 2019. You might know that fella. He's got all sorts of people talking about him these days. But then I also said to Michelle, hey, Michelle, you ever seen a movie called Cold Skin? And what was your reply to that, Michelle?
My reply was no, but it turns out I'm a liar. I've seen Cold Skin. So now I watched it twice.
Okay. Well, now, so at least going into it, I was like, because it was interesting. I saw The Lighthouse first, and then I saw Cold Skin, and Cold Skin is 2 years earlier. It's a 2017 film. Mm-hmm. Now, look, I'm just going to tell you right from the jump, I'm not here to suggest one movie stole anything from the other. I just think it's interesting sometimes when movies have a lot of really interesting similarities, but also still manage to be completely different movies. But I thought it would be fun to talk about them.
I don't see a lot of continuity other than The Lighthouse. So interesting.
Oh, really? Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's at least a few things that are at least one thing that's very obvious that you're not talking about.
Yes. There is absolutely one thing that is the same in both, now that you mention it. Yeah, there is definitely one big thing that's similar.
Yeah. Similar to, what's that, The Shape of Water, that Guillermo del Toro film. Yep. Anyway, so we're talking about Cold Skin from 2017 and The Lighthouse from 2019. I assume you had seen The Lighthouse previously, correct, Michelle?
Yes, I saw it in the theater with our friend Aaron, who will hopefully get to this episode very soon.
Did you see it at the Fargo?
Yes, I did.
I saw this at the Fargo with my friend Stephanie, who you met when we went to see Evil Dead Rise. Yep. I saw it at the Fargo Theater with Stephanie with a head full of acid. Which wasn't necessarily. I mean, no, it was fine. I'm experienced. I know what I'm doing, but it certainly made. I wasn't, because this is the second time I've seen it. I hadn't seen it again since that moment, and so I was very curious about what I was coming back into. But yeah, we're going to talk about those movies. I saw The Lighthouse first, like I said, and then I saw Cold Skin. I know you've discovered that you had, in fact, seen it, but it was the same order for you. You saw The Lighthouse first?
Yeah, I think Cold Skin popped up on some, movies you need to see, 3 or 4 years ago. Of just, I like to peruse Reddit and see what's out there. So it was on one of those, what's a weird thing that people should probably watch? And it was one of those. So
I'm pretty sure it was one of the first movies I watched on Shudder. I know Shudder is the first place I saw it. It was in their library for a period of time. I'm 90% sure of that. I guess it's entirely possible I'm misremembering that, but that's how I remember it. Anyway, do we want look, we're doing these as a double feature specifically because they're very similar films. So, Michelle, I'm going to read we'd agreed the IMDb descriptions for both of these are acceptable. So I'm going to do Cold Skin, and then I'm going to have you do The Lighthouse, and we're going to kind of try to parallel these movies as we go. I know this is kind of a weird format. First of all, look, these are older films. You guys, if you haven't seen these movies yet, well, I guess you'll just have to try real hard to see them both before you get into the spoiler section. It's
Yeah,
gonna take
Jenna.
you some. It's gonna take you some time. They're both nearly an hour and 50 minutes long. We'll talk about that anyway. So Cold Skin from 2017. A young man arrives at a remote island to take the post of weather observer, only to find himself defending the watchtower from deadly creatures which live in the island shores. Cold Skin, 2017. Javier Jens. Starring Ray Stevenson, David Oakes,
Isn't
Laura
it
Garrido.
Xavier?
It might be. I said Xavier. It might be Xavier. I don't know.
Oh, I heard Javier. Okay.
Oh, did I say Javier? I may have said Javier.
Who knows?
I don't know.
I can't hear shit.
Can I use the time of day it is as an excuse, as if it ever matters again? Probably not.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely the time of day's fault, not who we are as people.
And they say defending the They say defending the watchtower. To be clear, it's a lighthouse. A young man arrives at a remote island to take a post of weather observer, only to find himself defending the lighthouse from deadly creatures which live on the island shores. This also says lives in the island shores. I'm not sure if that's exactly... Anyway, we'll talk about it. Michelle, you want to descripty script the lighthouse?
Do you want my rating first, or how do we want to do this?
That's a good question.
Maybe IMDb descriptions of both, ratings of both, and then just spoiler.
I think so. I think we should make it as impenetrable as possible. So no, let's let's take these piece by piece. Go ahead, hit us with your spoiler-free thoughts on Cold Skin.
Okay, sounds good. Cold Skin. There's a person in here who presumably has cold skin. I expected this to just be a creature feature, which, if you've been listening, unfortunately, not always my favorite. I hate that I can say that. Like, I hate that I have a type, but my type is not creature feature. So I kind of expected, like, oh, this is just going to be, like, weird battle. You can see the movie poster just didn't draw me in. I got, like, very low production vibes from it, and so I thought, oh, creature feature on a small budget, this is not going to be great. Surprisingly, I like a lot of what is going on in here. I think there's a much deeper story than I expected. I'm amazed that I like this. It's not something that I expected to enjoy. I'm going to go with a 3.5 out of 5 for me.
3.5 out of 5 for Cold Skin from my friend Michelle. I'm gonna say the first thing I always say about it, because I already started talking about it. This movie's already down a little bit because of the hour and 48 minutes of it all. It's a solid 20 minutes, possibly 30 minutes longer than this story needed, in my opinion. But I do agree with you. I think it leads with creature feature and then brings in some other elements involved there as well. I don't think it's as focused on the ideas of isolation and what that does to a man's sanity as the next movie we talk about was. But I think there are definitely bits of that going on here. There's one particular mystery that I still think maybe a lot of people don't even think about with this film, but I still find myself asking all the time. But I enjoyed it. It's not one that I would come back to often, but it is one I would recommend that other people see. I'm going to go with 3 skulls on this one.
Okay, 3 and 3.5 gives us 3.25 out of 5. Yeah, when I realized I had seen it previously and this was a rewatch, I wasn't disappointed to figure out, like, oh,
right,
I know what's going on. Okay, I remember enjoying this once I realized I'd seen it before. And definitely way more depth than I expected. It's an ocean movie. Okay, should we do Lighthouse IMDb description next?
Yes, you should. You should.
Okay, I will read the IMDb description. The Lighthouse. 2 lighthouse keepers try to maintain their sanity while living on a remote and mysterious New England island in the 1890s. The Lighthouse, 2019, rated R, 1 minute difference to Cold Skin, 1 hour 49 minutes. Directed by Robert Eggers. Is it Eggers? I was convinced
Yes.
if I said Eggers, it was going to be wrong.
No, it's Eggers.
I'm bad at words.
Eggers,
Why do we have a
Weggers.
podcast?
Weggers,
Eggers.
Weggers, Egg and Bakers. I don't know what I'm trying to do here. But
You're
anyway.
making me hungry for deviled eggs. That's all
Yeah.
I know.
Ooh,
JD, do you
deviled
want to hit us?
eggs. With my
hit
spoiler-free
us with
thoughts
your
on deviled
spoiler-free
eggs,
thoughts?
yes.
Yes, there are 5. Deviled eggs are a 5.
Yeah, you're right. 5 deviled eggs. So my spoiler-free thoughts
But
for
the
the Lighthouse. Robert Eggers is such a specific flavor at this point, right? We got The Witch, and it was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I saw The Lighthouse, and I was like, oh no, wait, this isn't just what that movie did. That's what this guy does, and it's very droll in the way it presents itself. I think it kind of leans into its absurdity in ways that don't necessarily support its themes of insanity, at least for me. There are moments, I guess what I'm trying to say is there are moments in this movie that come off a little bit, for me, they feel like I'm experiencing them as more silly than they were intended to be. Like they were intended to be absurd, but not like comically silly. And I definitely had that experience here. The movie is, again, 20 to 30 minutes too long to do what it's doing. And there are some interesting questions going on here. But this, in a weird way, and the whole world is going to be like, I can't believe this just happened. It's Robert Eggers versus Cold Skin. But this was... If I had to pick one of these two movies to watch again, it would be Cold Skin every time. Lighthouse, 2.5 skulls.
Okay, 2.5.
I
can't help but notice that you you made us do a double feature about 2 movies you're fairly tepid about.
Well, that's the thing, is when I wanted to see them both, and I also wanted a chance to talk about them in comparison to each other, because Michelle, I don't think you know this. I don't think anybody knows this. But the roots of this very podcast, when I first started talking seriously about wanting to do some kind of movie podcast, but I wanted it to have some kind of a unique hook or a reason that makes it a little bit different from everything. One of the first
themed. Yep.
No. No. It was double feature themed. What I wanted to do is do 2 movies that were like this. They were eerily similar in ways, but also different, right? And so that was one of the first ideas I had in my head, and it wasn't even going to just always be horror. It was just going to be 2 movies that were like maybe closer and more similar than we might expect movies to be. And this was one of the pairings that I thought of, because I had just seen Cold Skin and was like, hey, that's strangely similar to The Lighthouse. And then I never saw either movie again. And so here we are. It was an excuse to watch both of these movies again. And yeah, as it turns out, I'm pretty tepid on both of them. And that's how we got here.
Fascinating.
Please tell me your spoiler-free thoughts on The Lighthouse, Michelle.
I forgot I hadn't said them yet.
I had not forgotten.
I had forgotten. I was ready to move on. The Lighthouse, I remember credits rolling in the theater and just being like, what the fuck did I just watch? And going home and Googling, because I was very confused. I enjoyed it from just like a literal interpretation of like, what are these events? And then I dug into it, and at the time it had just come out. So there were some blogs explaining it, but not super in depth. And I remember being like, oh, that's interesting, and moving on with my life. However, I will say the last 5 minutes of this movie, oh, I love the last 5 minutes. I have watched the very particular part on YouTube repeatedly, because there's a very, very good moment that like in the theater blew me away more than anything else. And then rewatching it for this episode that you were fairly tepid on, for in honor of Lighthouses, which, I mean, you guys, we haven't even said it. Lighthouses, pretty badass. Oh my God. They stopped ships from crashing into islands. Way to go, Lighthouses. Give yourself a round of applause, Lighthouses, for being the true heroes of the ocean. But I watched it again and I got excited to dig in a little bit more. And now I know so much about what is going on in this movie, and it really gave me a new appreciation for it. There are some very, very good, like basically novels and textbooks and YouTube documentaries explaining all the things that I definitely missed. I went down a deep, deep rabbit hole about it, and if I just watch it and leave going, what the fuck, I'm usually pretty happy if I don't have any complaints about it. So that alone is good. I liked figuring out all the stuff that I missed the first time. I am going to go with a 4.5. I really like The Lighthouse.
Michelle, this has nothing to do with The Lighthouse. I just have to ask you now, why is it that when you see a movie and you're like, I don't see, and then you go like read all sorts of articles and you're like, oh, I didn't see any of that going on at all, and now I know so much about what's happening there. But when I'm the one who points out to you that Divinity is an incredibly anti-woman film, as clearly illustrated by numerous quotes and symbolisms in the film, you're like, I don't know, JD. Why do you not take me seriously, Michelle? No.
I have a very specific answer. People can loop back to Divinity. But the thing is, you and I did not miss a single thing that you picked up on. I did not miss it. I just don't take... Okay, I should take The Lighthouse as a literal message to the world that if you go to an island, you're going to lose your fucking mind. I get it. All movies have a message. Don't fuck with mermaids. That's another thing I've learned from these movies. Take everything as a literal message and a purpose.
But Michelle, do you know that this is what's going on in the movie, or is this just what other people have told you they think is going on in the movie?
I read quotes from Robert Eggers, so I know.
Oh, well, fuck that guy. Anyway, no, he probably knows what's going on in his movie. I would hope here at the very least, if the guy is able to tell me what he was trying to do, that's more than a lot of people. That's my issue is I don't mind if somebody makes a movie that's all like weird and symbolic and stuff. I would like it, and if you just would, if somebody asks you, I get it. Some people are like, I don't want to have to explain it to you. But I at least want to believe that you have some genuine idea of what you were trying to say. Maybe that's why... Oh, yeah,
he has a very specific idea, and it makes sense.
That's probably why I was a little bit more attached to everything I saw in Divinity, is the idea that somebody
I'm so excited to talk about it then.
Telling a story that just... I mean, I didn't really have anything to say. I was just, that's so weird to me. Anyway, that's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to talk about The Lighthouse. We're here to talk about Cold Skin. If you have not seen those movies and you don't want to have them spoiled for you, get out there and watch them. They're both 7 years on Cold Skin, 5 years on The Lighthouse. This is the only spoiler warning you're going to get. Michelle.
Yeah.
Do we want to split duties on the plot summaries?
You sum up Cold Skin because my brain is full of Lighthouse. I spent a very long time reading and watching stuff. That works just fine
for me. All right.
Cool.
So
for those Cold Skin.
Yeah, for those of you who have never seen Cold Skin from 2017, adapted from a novel of the same title, as I understand. So there's this fella. And he shows up at an island with a lighthouse and a weather observer station. And he's supposed to be replacing the old weather observer, and the old weather observer can't be found. So they go to the lighthouse to ask the lighthouse man, Gruner, what is going on with the other weather observer. And he's like, oh, he died of typhus. And they were like, oh, well, where's his remains? And he's like, oh, I put him in a hole or something. I don't even remember. Because they don't even, look, they make a tertiary effort to figure out what happened to the other guy, and then they just accept that he died. And so anyway, they go, and the guy takes over the post as the weather observer, and it's just him and the Gruner Lighthouse guy on the island. And very quickly he finds out, oh, also this island is under attack a lot of nights by weird merfolk fish people. It's not every night. There's some nights they do, sometimes they don't. They never really do figure out throughout the whole course of the movie what the pattern is, or even if there is a pattern. is randomly attacked by these merfolk people. And so eventually the dude who Gruner calls Friend, and that's the only name we ever have for him, eventually Friend makes a deal with Gruner to share his tobacco and his coffee and his bullets if he can come stay in the lighthouse, which is all girded up with like spikes coming out of it, and it's hard to get into and all that stuff. But then Friend very quickly finds out that it's not just Friend and Gruner in the lighthouse. Gruner also has one of these merfolk people kidnapped and is treating it basically like a dog. Like has it trained like a dog. It's a female merfolk people. And then, oh man, not only does he have a female merfolk kidnapped and he's treating it like a dog, he's also fucking it, because of course you are. I don't know what that says about what this fellow would do to dogs. What it says about his thoughts on it's
yeah.
so weird. It's weird on a number of levels beyond just like captive sexual assault. Which is a strange thing to say. Like, that should be bad enough, but then there's all these elements involved, and the guy's like, what the hell? But Friend is also isolated on this island alone, and these merfolk monster creatures keep attacking, trying to kill him, because all they know is this other guy's got one of them captured here, and they're trying to get their person back, and slowly but surely Friend figures out that this Gruner dude is kind of a dickhead. And he's probably, ultimately, he's like kidnapped this lady, and they're just trying to get their merfolk person back. And then there's like some baby merfolk, and then they decide that they're going to get some dynamite from a shipwreck and blow up the tower and kill a bunch of them. To what end, ultimately? I don't know. How are they going to get away? Who fucking knows? Anyway, eventually, Friend finds out that Gruner, he's not even Gruner. He's the previous weather guy. Where's Gruner? Who fucking knows where Gruner's been this whole time? He's just gone. And so then there's a whole thing where Friend ultimately helps the merfolk people stop Gruner, and then Gruner like kills one of the kid merfolks with a flare gun. It's real gross. But they sort of understand that Friend has figured out that they've been wrong this whole time, and there's this uneasy truce, and Gruner dies. And then Friend just becomes the new Gruner, and the new weatherman comes up, and they're like, hey, where's the guy who replaced the other guy? And he's like, I don't know, he died of typhus, and now I'm Gruner. Cold Skin, 2017.
The longer you talked about it, the more I saw so many parallels. You're right, they are very similar.
Oh, how long did I talk about that? Is that a long summary? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, I started realizing, like, oh yeah, it is like a case of mistaken identity and the Lighthouse and Cold Skin, and oh yeah, there is this part that's similar, and yeah, I'm just saying, like, I thought they were very different because I was thinking, like, well, one has mermaids attacking them, and the other one's insane.
Yeah,
and like, oh, I see.
And I think
I see so
that's
many.
that's an important thing that I wanted to get at. Is I do think that there are a lot of similarities, but also I do think they are very, very different movies. Yeah. Also, I just looked here, and it looks like that summary took me almost 5 minutes. That's ridiculous. Michelle, do you want to summarize The Lighthouse?
Sure. Okay, The Lighthouse.
I'm very self-conscious about speaking and rambling and interrupting like I just did. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're all good. We have a podcast so that we can talk. That's like the entire point. I think you're just sad because you pick Lighthouse movies for Lighthouse Day and then realize you don't even like lighthouses. You're like, God damn, the worst of the buildings. I hate them. That's
Never been to a lighthouse in real life ever in my days. Never once. I've never even seen one from a distance with my actual eyes. I've only ever seen a lighthouse in photographs. I'm not entirely certain they actually exist.
Well, I've seen them, but I could be lying to you, just to perpetuate the myth of the lighthouse.
Could be. Ha! Could be.
There aren't even ships that could hit rocks. Okay, anyway.
Boats are not real.
Boats, definitely not real. Okay, so The Lighthouse. I almost went off on a tangent. We're not going to do that to you people. The Lighthouse. Edward Cullen, he's done being a vampire. He's going to be in charge of a lighthouse now. So he goes out onto an island, And Willem Dafoe's there, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Willem Dafoe. Do you know me from my great work, such as that one movie where I'm like Spider-Man foe, the guy I green somebody. Jesus Christ, how did I forget his name? Anyway, Willem Dafoe, Goblin. He's a goblin. And also, do you know me from Antichrist, where they had to use a stunt cock because my penis was disturbingly big and they thought that would distract from the story? Do you know me? And Robert Pattinson's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm the Batman. And they went, and then Willem's like, wow, this is going to be a good movie, huh? And Robert was like, you bet your ass it is. So then they're like, we're going to stay out on this lighthouse. And Willem Dafoe, you know, you're kind of the veteran here. You're going to go ahead and just hoard all the light to yourself. And Robert Pattinson, sorry, you are in charge of painting the lighthouse and then getting dropped. So, man, your life sucks, but I'm Willem Dafoe and I tell you what to do. And there's some fun interactions between them. You said you weren't sure if they were supposed to be comical. I am certain they were supposed to be comical, especially once I figured out the meaning of this film. There's some really, really good stuff that happens here. So they just slowly go mad. And at one point, Willem Dafoe's screaming, it's bad luck to kill a seabird, because the seagulls on this island, man, fuck seagulls. Am I right? I love them. I do throw them french fries occasionally. I do like birds, but the seagulls on this island in particular, they fucking suck. And Robert Pattinson, one day, he's fed up, so he just grabs a bird and starts bashing it against a rock. And usually animal cruelty in a movie is a very hard thing for me. I feel too much, but God, I laughed. I love that scene. He's just whipping this fucking bird. And you know what? It's justified. The bird only has one eye, similar to how Willem Dafoe's partner had only one eye. Did the guy come back as the seagull to fuck with Batman? Potentially. So then there's a storm because Robert Pattinson killed a seabird, and that's bad luck. So now they're stranded. They've run out of food. Everything's going wrong. They're drinking turpentine and honey, and you know that's just a recipe for disaster. Literally. It's a recipe. If it's in a book, it would say 1 part turpentine, 1 part honey, yield 1 disaster. And that's how you know, like, you fucked up if you're at that point in your life. Robert, he's real mad that Willem Dafoe is still, like, taking all that light to himself. So what he decides is he's gonna fucking bury Willem Dafoe while Willem gives a very good speech. And then later on he's gonna axe him. And so Willem Dafoe, he's dead. Now Robert, he gets to have the light to himself. He goes up there, he screams for a very long time in a distorted way. That is one of my favorite movie scenes of all time. It's super fucked up, and it takes you a while to realize the audio as his screaming in a distorted manner. Also, there's foghorns throughout this. Very scary. It's shot in whatever aspect ratio standard televisions were in. It's black and white the whole time. Robert Pattinson, he goes crazy at the top of the lighthouse. He falls down the stairs, and now seagulls are eating him. The lighthouse.
That's that's pretty much, the lighthouse.
Yeah. Now, do you want to know the story that actually happened? What that story actually is?
Well, I mean, I know what that story is, but I mean, go ahead, Michelle. Please tell everybody. I know you've done a bunch of... Go ahead. No, please.
I'm curious. Oh, okay. I was curious if you actually know, because I did not know. It's the story of Proteus and Prometheus.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
I did not.
The whole thing with the guy getting his guts ripped out at the end is actually lifted directly from, I don't remember who the artist is, but it's like a famous painting of Prometheus on the rocks being eaten by the gulls.
Yeah, and the part where Willem Dafoe is naked and shining light in his face is
exactly.
A different piece of art.
Yeah, those frames.
Well, I'm going to tell our listeners. Because I did not know.
Now, to be fair, I don't know all the details about the story, but yeah, I did know that it's a reference to that, yes. Please.
Okay.
You did a ton of research. You put in the effort. Tell them all about Prometheus stealing fire from the gods.
Yes. Excellent. Okay, so I wasn't sure if you knew, because I did not know until I looked it up after the movie, and I went, oh shit. So first off, if you are interested in hearing the specific details of what relates to the Proteus and Prometheus story, go find somebody else to tell you that. There's a lot of really good YouTube videos. There are articles. They will tell you shot for shot, scene for scene, what the things in this movie are doing and the story it's telling. It's
Proteus,
really, really cool.
By the way.
Is it Proteus? Proteus sounds so much better.
Yeah.
No,
Proteus.
we're going to call him Pro Bro. He's the pro bro from now on. So for those of you unfamiliar, Proteus, I don't like saying it that way.
Say it.
He's the god
I can't say with absolute certainty that it's Proteus. That's just how I've always heard it. You may be correct. I should stop being all, my way is correct. I honestly
but I'm very
don't
bad.
know.
I'm very bad at words.
I tell you what,
Proteus just because it's so much fun to say.
You say it how it feels good in your mouth, Michelle.
Okay. Anyway, sexual nature in this movie is completely deliberate, by the way. There's a lot of sex in this movie, and you need to just go watch it. There's mermaid vagina, which is hilarious to me, because if she's part fish, does she not just lay eggs and then they sperm all over them, and Robert Pattinson's going to be disappointed to find that out? Or nope, I guess they are P&V types of creatures in this movie. So that's the most unbelievable part to me, that a mermaid would have just a vagina on the front, completely unprotected, not even a cloaca. Okay, so first off, sexual nature, very on purpose. The lighthouse itself in the script is described as an erect penis. So all the sexual stuff, 100% intentional. So Proteus is the god of sea in Greek mythology. And Prometheus is a titan that was crafted, blah, blah, blah. He has his whole own story. But basically, he was kind of stronger than gods, but also did their bidding in a way. God, I love Greek mythology. I think that's why I get really excited about this. I got to brush up. Like watching Hercules, the animated movie, when I knew a lot about actual Hercules, is hilarious. Because I'm like, your mom tried to kill you. Where's your twin brother? Anyway, very, very inaccurate. God, not like the Lighthouse that we just watched. That's very accurate. So anyway, tangent. Proteus, he doesn't like to give knowledge out very much. And that's why Willem Dafoe's character is this guy. He makes Robert Pattinson do his bidding. I'm also calling them Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe first because I think it's funny, but second because they're both Thomas, and I can never remember which one is Thomas Howard versus Thomas Wake. And also Thomas Howard is not his actual name. He's a lumberjack and he killed a guy, and now he's here. And then Willem Dafoe's like, well, I killed a guy and they're a bird now. So they're both Thomas, and that's a whole thing. But so Prometheus, he steals fire from the gods to give it to the people and bestow knowledge upon them. And in the lighthouse and the light from it represents that knowledge that Proteus did not want to bestow upon humans. And that's why when Prometheus goes up there, he goes mad. There is a lot of symbolism and direct dialogue taken from the Prometheus and Proteus story. I did see that there's no story out there of specifically when they met. So Robert Eggers was trying to tell what their actual encounter with each other was. So I think that's pretty cool. There's also a whole thing about how this, somebody just came up with a fan theory that I really like that isn't as deep. Which is that this is a purgatory situation where the light is salvation, and Robert Pattinson is trying to make his way to salvation and then loses his mind and doesn't reach that, which is not the story. I just always really like a fan theory when they can get very detailed and actually make it make sense despite not being what the movie was created in mind. I think good art is up to that kind of interpretation, being able to relate to it in different ways. But yeah, basically Prometheus, Proteus, whatever, Greek mythology. This movie is 100% accurate to a made-up mythology thing that I really enjoy. I'm not going to be able to sum it up like they did, but Jesus Christ, I read so much. I watched so many videos. None of it's coming out of my brain in the right way. So if you want to know more about that, absolutely go check it out. But if you don't want to check out and you just want to take it literally, God, I love these two just getting fucking crazy on an island. I love that story too.
It was like Willem Dafoe is definitely chewing scenery here, and God bless him, Robert Pattinson doing his best to keep up. But I mean, everybody would struggle when you just take the reins off Dafoe and let him just be wild. I think I need to clarify. You mentioned that there are some things in here that you thought were absolutely supposed to be. Yeah, I think they were supposed to be comical. I'm talking about a very specific kind of comical that's just like silly, like I there I love them. Don't get me wrong, but there's a connotation in a fart joke that just only goes so far. You know what I mean? And like I don't know. I feel like if there was they may have occasionally lost me with how ridiculous some of the humor got in the attempt to build. Now, first of all, I'm not entirely convinced this is a horror film. I think
yeah. Ugh.
I think
The
it's
very,
one of
very
those.
end.
Yeah, it uses elements of horror for sure, but this very much strikes me as, again, one of those movies we've talked about quite a bit that kind of gets lumped into horror because nobody really knows where else to put it. It definitely has its horrific moments. The bird being splattered, the body being eaten, all of that. But I do think, and while I definitely recognize the mythological symbolism of it, I do think it's still intended to be also a story about two people. Like, I think it's based around those characters mythologically, but the intent is still that these are real men who came to this island. The one clearly has been coming out here frequently. Did he he comes and meets Pattinson with the old guy or what? Like, do they both come to the island together? I don't remember that detail from the beginning. Does Pattinson, does Winslow meet Wake on the island, or do they come to the island together?
Okay, Winslow meets Wake on the island and finds out that Wake's previous partner died, just like in Cold Skin. That's why, as you were telling it, I was like, oh my god, there are a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Yes, and just to clarify, it is also about two people and about people going crazy on islands because they're minding lighthouses. And I went down that rabbit hole too because that sounds like a nightmare to me. The ocean's scary as shit. Yes. I
also I found certain parallels between Gruner's insistence of control over the lighthouse tower and Wake's insistence over control over the beacon room itself. I saw there were a lot of parallels here that I just found very, very interesting. In the lighthouse, I guess obviously, like, I find myself wondering if there is also something involving here, like, again, there is that mythological element, but we see that moment where not only is he in the lighthouse, but like there's like Wake, or Winslow sees Wake in some sort of sexual situation, and then there's like a hand that comes around and there's weird tentacles. I feel like there's
I was gonna say that's a Proteus thing. Do you want to know what that part all is?
Fill me in.
Sweet. Okay, this is what I mean. Like, everything in this movie that I didn't have an explanation for.
It is Proteus, by the way. I double checked.
Damn it. Oh, but Proteus sounds so much better. Okay, Proteus. Ugh. Glad he's a dead god now, because that's a shitty name. No, I'm kidding. Please don't smite me down. The ocean's scary. I don't like water. Okay, so Proteus. Ugh. He did not like to give out knowledge and would only do it when he was trapped. So when he shifts into those three separate figures, which are the mermaid, which Robert Pattinson feels lust for, the his previous boss or whoever that he killed, who he feels guilt for, and then that tentacle monster who he's like kind of afraid of, that is Proteus doing all of his shape-shifting, trying to find something that will help him weasel out of the situation that he's in. Because he would change form.
So I'm supposed to believe that when Robert Pattinson finds this mermaid creature all tangled up in weeds on the beach, that's actually the Willem Dafoe character, even though the Willem Dafoe character is the one who interrupts him on the beach.
No, the part I'm talking about is when Robert Pattinson is trying to kill him and he goes through those shape shifts, including the tentacle. The mermaid vagina at the beginning, I think, is just him losing his mind. I think that's also just the insanity of being out here.
Oh,
So
sure.
the actual having sex with the mermaid, that part I don't have an explanation for. Robert Eggers was just going off.
Yeah, well, you see, and that's my problem. Is there are a lot. This is my issue with a lot of things. Is you pour so much meaning into certain parts of your film, and then other parts of your film, I'm just supposed to be like, nah, I was just being weird. I just,
There might be an explanation.
I just,
He might have just been like, man, you guys, have you ever wanted to fuck a mermaid? And everybody on set was like, what? And he's like, hey, prosthetics department, I'm really gonna need a mermaid tail, but with a vulva. If you could make that happen, they're like, oh, this is the guy who made the witch. I guess we just gotta go with him. Nobody tell him no. And he's like, God, you guys, mermaids are hot, right? And they're like, Robert's got this thing for mermaids. Just let him do his thing. He wrote and directed it. We can't say no. Just let him do his thing. I bet that's it. I bet he's just like, God, you guys ever want to fuck a mermaid?
which I mean,
yes.
well, first of all, no. But
Oh,
anyway,
okay. Well,
no, I just I feel like. I feel like there's still more literal stuff going on here than just those elements. Like I feel like these are real I don't see this as this idea literally being these are mythological creatures in the bodies of human beings playing out a specific story between each other. I feel like this is operating on more levels than just that. Ultimately, however, I feel like none of them engaged me to a degree that I wanted to watch nearly 2 hours of them. The thing that's baffling about this movie to me is that I should enjoy everything about it. Like on paper, this is a movie that I should absolutely love. And I just nothing about it resonated with me at all. In a similar way to ultimately The Northman, which is why, I saw the first one, I saw The Witch, and I really liked that, and I saw The Lighthouse, and I wasn't sure about that one. And then I saw The Northman, and I was like, oh, this is just what this guy does, and he's probably not for me. But no, I think sometimes. It's I don't even know what to say. I'm distracted right now by that. I can't get over how all the birds in this movie looked like the birds in Birdemic.
they also, fun fact, they tied all the birds to Robert Pattinson and they made him really mad. So that they would peck him literally, so that it would be more realistic. That's actually how The Birds was made, in case nobody knows. The way that The Birds was made is horrific. And I love birds, but that sounds like a terrible situation.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it does.
It's funny because you love The Witch and I like The Lighthouse, and it's just that difference of opinion of like, I feel like you feel towards The Lighthouse is me with The Witch of like, there's no reason for me to dislike this. I just don't like it, and there's nothing wrong. I just can't get into it. And it's the exact same thing, different movies. I have not seen The Northman yet for that reason. I'm not like much of a slow burn person. I like The Lighthouse. I figured I'd just leave it there. But we do have the new Nosferatu movie coming out from Robert Roger. What is his name?
Robert Eggers.
Yeah, so we get the new Nosferatu this year, starring Emma Corrin, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and whichever Skarsgård. I think Pennywise.
No, not whichever. Bill.
Okay, that one. Not the Northman Skarsgård.
There is no Skarsgård named whichever, Michelle.
Oh, you're taking it literally.
I see what I did there. No, so I also obviously want to spend some time talking about Cold Skin because I do think something you mentioned when we started talking about that film this movie does spend a decent amount of time in that sort of creature feature area. And then I think sort of turns around and becomes a much more interesting film. But in that first portion of it, when it's first just like crazy action movie horror, how far did you think you were going to want to throw me for making you watch this movie?
Actually, It wasn't too bad because I think the way that it brings in the action, it starts with things just being creepy, like him seeing things under the door.
Sure.
And then we start getting like we have a little bit of time between that first like hint of the craziness, a little bit of action, and then meeting the mer lady. And when we met her, that's when I went, oh, I've seen this before and I know I like it. So luckily the hatred was short-lived of like, oh God, oh no, it's the Shape of Water, but they hate us. Did you watch through the credits, by the way, and see the post-credit scene? The Little Mermaid pornography that they're making? That was a weird teaser, but it was kind of fitting at the same time.
What are you...
The teaser at the end of the post-credits, it was just a guy fucking a mermaid, and he was like, the mermaid will return, just like they do in Marvel movies.
On what movie?
Cold Skin, but I'm lying.
I'm so lost right now. This is how terrible Michelle is so bad at lying that she confuses me, and I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. I'm like, what's even...
One of us tells only truths, one of us tells only lies, and they're both me. But no, I just, that was the main reason I wanted to watch the movies as a combination, because it's so interesting to me. Like, they are very different in so many ways, but they're similar enough in a lot of ways that there is always that part of you that's just like, Robert Eggers maybe see this at some festival he had something going on at, and he was like, yeah, that's not a bad idea, but I could probably put a better spin on it or a little bit more of my own spin on it. Nobody's ever going to make a big deal about it. Maybe I don't know. There's enough parallels between these two movies. There definitely
also,
is.
Here's what I want to know. This is why I'm a little bit more, I think, attached to Cold Skin than I am to Lighthouse. What the fuck happened to Gruner? Like,
didn't he kill him?
No, if the guy on the island is the old weather guy, what happened to Gruner?
Oh, the first Gruner.
Yeah, the real Gruner. What happened to the real Gruner?
I like to think that there will perpetually be a Gruner until the end of time, and it will just be one guy killing the other and then becoming Gruner, and they're like, Gruner has had this shift for forever.
Well, see, that's what I was thinking as well, is it's just it's like the Dread Pirate Gruner, just this endless sequence of new Gruner the Lightkeepers.
New Gruners.
But then I said, well, what about in the Lighthouse? Like, maybe what's happening in the Lighthouse there is, like, I don't know, that guy's going to be, like, maybe Robert Pattinson's going to be the new Willem Dafoe, and now he's going to be, I don't know, man. Did your whole Diggy thing there figure out anything about that? What's going on? All your research, Michelle?
Well, that's just directly, Prometheus was forced to be eaten by birds.
Yeah.
As a punishment. So that's just literal. But I do like that it could be another parallel of this guy being the perpetual Gruner at the Lighthouse for the rest of his life and swapping out, and there will always be a Gruner, because that's yet another odd connection between these movies. You've convinced me.
Do you think
of similarities?
Do you think the dude, like, do you think that Winslow actually found the dude's eyeless head in a bag or in a box of crabs or whatever? Or did he just hallucinate that whole thing?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I get my Thomases mixed up, even though you didn't say Thomas. I can't remember which one.
I said Winslow.
I know, and I forgot which Thomas that was.
Thomas Hardy.
Yeah.
Or Thomas
No, I think
Howard.
he actually did find the head, and that the guy was also the seagull that came back to fuck with him.
Oh, you think so?
Maybe he was trying to save him. You're like, dude, this guy is Proteus, and he's mad at you.
So you think that Wake, the Willem Dafoe guy, murdered the one-eyed dude.
Yep.
And then the one-eyed dude came back as a one-eyed seabird and then got fucking murdered again by Robert Pattinson.
Yep. And that's why he caused the storm and all of their downfall. Because he was like, God damn it, again? I like to think that the bird caused this.
with that in mind, I think they all got exactly what they deserved, and good for the birds.
Yeah. I mean, the birds are assholes, but that's fine.
Are they?
Birds are assholes. Yeah,
They
just kept pecking at him.
Well, they murdered that dude twice. Also, the birds were there first.
Well, Thomas Wake, I have pictures of them pulled up now so I can keep track. Wake, he did murder the one-eyed seagull, but Howard did not. Robert Pattinson's did not. So why were the gulls being dicks to him? That makes them assholes. Go be a dick to Willem Dafoe. He's the one who murdered one of you.
No, Willem Dafoe didn't murder the gull. Willem Dafoe murdered the person. Robert Pattinson murdered the gull.
Who came back as a seagull.
Right.
The seagulls were dicks before Robert Pattinson killed one.
Were they?
It was self-defense. Yes, absolutely.
Or were they dicks, or were they just being seagulls?
Seagulls are dicks. It's like geese. I fucking love geese. They're evil creatures. It's okay. You can be both. You can be a bad creature and something I love at the same time.
You're suggesting it's totally okay to just fucking murder a gull because it pecked at you?
As long as you eat it afterwards.
Do you really think he ate... What part of that barely recognizable seagull corpse were they having for dinner, Michelle?
He also seems like the kind of guy who would eat a bird raw, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, God damn it, I'm going to eat you. I'm so mad, and just chowed down on the beach. There was nothing left
but blood and feathers. What was he going to eat, Michelle?
The legs he was holding as he bashed the seagull against the
rock.
He
was holding it by the neck. I'm not sure if you have.
Oh, okay, then the head. The best part, he could give it a little kiss before he takes a little bite.
So anyway, we watched a couple of Lighthouse movies. I was totally underwhelmed by both of them. I feel bad that I asked Michelle to watch them both again. You
made me spend an entire night doing research, and you did not expect that.
I did not. I do honestly think if you were to ask me which one of these I would want to watch again, I would definitely watch Cold Skin before I watch The Lighthouse again. That's nothing but a personal flavor thing. They're two, like I said, two very similar movies in a lot of ways, but also two very different movies in a lot of ways. Just interesting how that timing works out sometimes. You know, like sometimes you got Friends with Benefits, and then that other movie. There was the Mila Kunis, Ashton Kutcher one, and then the other people one, and they're both about people who were just friends, and then they start banging, and then they can't be friends no more, and they came out within 3 months of each other in the same year. I don't know.
Oh, The Lighthouse. They start banging, and then they're friends.
Right, yeah, that's the one.
That's what happens in The Lighthouse. There's some good intimate moments in here. Where those
guys were definitely fucking like
absolutely.
Wake and Winslow were like you don't put two men on an island for 8 to 12 weeks, the last several of which involve a healthy dose of turpentine and honey, without there's
I also did go down a rabbit hole of reading diary entries from
I'm glad
Lighthouse.
that ended up with a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I did go down on Willem Dafoe. Anyway, there's a squirrel outside my window. Good subject change. I read a lot of diary entries from lighthouse keepers who went crazy, too. There's a lot of those online, and they're fascinating because this, lighthouse keepers would just go crazy in that isolation, and it makes sense. I couldn't do that. No internet, surrounded by the ocean, the scariest thing out there. And there's a sea god named Proteus who's mad at me, and these fucking seagulls won't leave me alone, and they contain the dead souls of this guy who had my job before me, and now they're mad at me for some fucking reason, and now I have to paint a building and get dropped off the side of the building, and now I have to fuck Willem Dafoe with his gigantic stunt cock from Antichrist. That's my favorite fact about him. I love him as an actor, but the fact that they had to use a stunt double because his penis was too big is just so good. Yeah, no, I would go crazy too.
Willem Dafoe is the French pole vaulter.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. Good for him.
Anyway, This episode probably would have been better if I had just said, hey, Michelle, let's do the Lighthouse for Lighthouse Day. Or if I had just said, hey, Michelle, let's do Cold Skin for Lighthouse Day. And then you would have been like, why would we do Cold Skin for Lighthouse Day when we could do the Lighthouse for Lighthouse Day? And I would have been like, yeah, you're right, that's better. But instead, I just said, hey, let's do them both. And then it was weird.
Yeah, but I like weird. And I think the people listening to us like weird, or else they wouldn't be 55 minutes into this episode with us.
Right, but we're talking
they
about...
learned so much about mermaid vag and Greek mythology and birds being assholes. This has been an educational episode.
It's been a good time. Oh, well,
you
know what I'm happy about?
The Lighthouse. It's so fucking fun.
You know what I'm happy about is we at least got the goddamned episode in the can. We tried last night to get this recorded. We tried the night before, I think. I don't know how often we tried, but man, we've been having some fucking issues. The internet hates us. Technology hates us. But we got this one sorted. I hate myself. Well, but that's not one that we need to delve into too deeply. And we do often have a therapy portion, but
we do. So, I am actually going to go back to therapy, I think.
The
podcast has reminded me maybe I got some things to talk about.
Oh, my God. I didn't intend for it to actually have an impact on your life. Oh, Jesus, what have I done? Anyway.
The two impacts are I might go back to therapy, and the second one is, you ever see how lighthouses kind of look like dicks? I mean, they would if they were real, which they're not, as
lighthouses don't exist. I've never seen one with my own two eyes. I've seen drawings. I've seen supposed photographs. Those could all be fraudulent. I know people say they've seen them,
start
but
a big conspiracy.
Lighthouses aren't real. They don't exist. It's not a thing.
Oh God.
That's
we
my
just
whole
had our abortion episode, and now we have the conspiracy episode where lighthouses aren't real.
Look,
what is happening to our
podcast? If you want to start a conspiracy about something like whether or not lighthouses are real, I'm on board. Get down with your bad self. I feel whether or not lighthouses are like the whole birds don't exist thing ridiculous, but I'm fine with it. It's a whole lot less socially problematic than if you let somebody do research on an embryonic stem cell, next thing you know, they'll be cutting babies' throats for baby blood because that'll be the cure to everything and it'll be okay. Because everybody,
and the Birds Aren't Real guy did it as a social experiment.
10,000 people with just one neck of baby blood. It's totally worth it.
That's it? Yeah, absolutely. Just one neck of baby blood? That's almost nothing.
One neck of baby blood.
The baby can just take it over a little course of time. The baby will make more blood. I think that's how it works.
If you haven't listened to our episode about divinity, you might want to give that one a spin to get a little context out of where that came from. Also, watch the Google
context.
blog.
Like the Lighthouse, it's just me screaming into a light until I fall downstairs. Oh, man. You got to get to work, JD, and I got to go eat some food.
Michelle, there's a movie coming out called Black Eyed Susan. Do you know about it?
I know nothing about it.
I think it just premiered at Fantasia recently. Put that one in your ear hole. Go do some Googling. We're definitely going to want to talk about that one.
I like to not know anything about the movies. Oh, I already have it on my watch list. I just
See, okay, perfect. Then I know it'll be there. All right, so I just wanted to put that one out.
AI sex doll named Susan. I'm in.
Yeah. Well, based on what a little bit I haven't even read about it. I've just seen some tweets about it, and I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be a hard one to watch. Anyway, put it on your radars,
I love
guys.
It when they're hard.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle. And thank you, Lighthouses.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShutter.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShutter on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShutter.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShutter.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shutter is a production of Rat Factory Media.